Maddie Levine with MMA Island, coming at you with a very exciting interview today. We're going to be talking to Joe Giannetti, aka Skeletor, who has a pretty big fight coming up. Boston native, ready to get back into the cage, and we're going to hear a little bit about his upcoming fight and hopefully get to know him a little better. So let's welcome in Joe. How you doing, Joe?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for joining me. Where are you joining me from today?
So today we're in Abington. Me and my girlfriend just moved into our new apartment. So that's where we're at
Awesome.
for a little bit. And then in about a month and a half, I'll be heading back to California for training.
So you just moved in, like literally today, or?
Like 2 weeks ago.
That's so exciting. Now I gotta ask, from girl to girl and that sort of thing. Is this like a first? Like, is this like a first thing with like your new girl? Like,
Yeah, this is the first time living together.
okay.
She's my old apartment. She stayed almost all the time, but this is our first, like, our apartment.
So things are getting real.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Good for you, man. That's really exciting.
Thank you.
But you do have a fight coming up, so that is going to be a little more important. So you said are you from Boston?
Yes.
So why California to go do the fight camp?
So, after meeting DC on TUF, he invited me with open arms to AKA, and I've done a couple camps out there, and I loved it. And I've had, especially since COVID, I've had some tough times getting good training out here. So I'm just really, and especially after my last fight, I'm really just trying to make it a thing to go out to AKA whenever I have a fight camp coming up. I love all those guys out there. I love the preparation, and it really showed in my last fight.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about your experience on The Ultimate Fighter. And it was TUF 27, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about that experience. And I mean, what did it do for you as a professional fighter?
It kind of showed me what my life needs to be like to be successful. I mean, a lot of guys complain about TUF, but my big thing was I knew how I wanted to make my life back home when I was done on the show. All we did was wake up, make breakfast, go train. Come home, make lunch, go train. So like if that's what my life ends up like, I'm totally okay with that. And so that's what I've been aiming to make it like at home since leaving the show.
And what was it like getting to that pivotal moment of live in Vegas? I mean, like walk me through those emotions that you had that night.
Um, that was honestly, it was wild. I've had a lot of crazy fight nights. I've had a lot of I've had some fights where I was super confident, some fights I was super nervous. And that one I think I was just kind of enjoying the moment. Like not the fight itself, but like all those past fights were for that night. I was like, okay, it was worth it. I didn't do it for nothing. Like I'm here. And I really was just like taking it all in. In hindsight, I wish I could have like suppressed that emotion a little bit until after the fight, because I do think it kind of affected my performance on the finale. But at the same time, it's like now that I know what it's like, I won't feel that same way when I do make it back eventually.
I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that an adrenaline dump is such a real thing. And it's so hard to deal with, especially with, like the lights and the excitement of it. From that experience, how do you think you're going to be handling big moments like that in the future?
Um, Honestly, I just think that I try and treat, ever since that moment, I just try and treat every moment like it's not a big deal until the job's done. I didn't underestimate Trezano when I fought him at the finale, but like I said, I kind of unwillingly had that I made it mentality as I was walking out to the cage. Like I knew I had to fight to get that job, but like, I've lived in my car before. I've lived at other people on other people's couches. Like now I'm in Vegas fighting as the co-main event to who would be future middleweight champ. Like Israel Adesanya was our main event. So it was just like a real big, like, good job. Like you made it a little bit early, unexpectedly, but I had those emotions early, and now I just treat everything like this is no big deal, just another fight until the job's done.
That's awesome. I mean, lessons learned with every fight, right? And it's a tough lesson, but it's a lesson nonetheless. So you do have, actually, before we start talking about your upcoming fight, you just mentioned that you live out of your car at one point. So tell me a little bit about that and what led you to that spot in your life.
So when I want to say I was like one or two fights into being a pro, and I had just moved out of my dad's house, and I was living with my girlfriend at the time then, and then we split up, and I moved out of there, and I was trying to live on my own, but I wasn't working a crazy amount because I was training so much, and one or two fight pro, like you're not getting paid a ton of money. So what I would do is my work truck was my truck, and I would put all the stuff in the bed of the truck, and I would work overnights. So my schedule would be wake up in the morning and train. I have my dogs with me. I go take care of the dogs. We hang out at the park. I make lunch. I go back to the gym and train, and then I would go have dinner, and then I would go back to work all night, and then sleep for a couple hours and go back to the gym. And I used to park at the bus stop. We had like a big giant parking lot bus stop, but it was like 2 minutes from the gym. So I would park there and sleep there, and I probably did that for like 4 or 5 months. And I like in making weight was ridiculously tough. I was in a pickup truck. I didn't have a kitchen to cook food and stuff. So I was just like, okay, so I'll get like the breakfast omelet from this gas station, and I'll eat half of it when I get closer to the fight. So like my diet was definitely more about calories and not how good the food actually was for you.
That is wild. So no nutritionist, right?
No.
I'm guessing. No kitchen.
No.
Have you ever missed weight?
I missed weight. So I've missed weight twice. I missed one on 10 days notice when I was supposed to fight for Cage Warriors in England, and then another one I missed for LFA. It was just the whole weight cut was just a mess.
It happens. But I mean, that's a pretty good percentage for somebody who had to do it out of their truck. So, yeah. I mean, kudos to you on that. Now that you have an apartment, I mean, do you feel like a baller? Like, do you feel like, yes, like I made it? Like, how are you mentally now, knowing that you have a roof over your head?
I feel great. I mean, so I'm sitting on my back balcony right now, and like I get to look over the woods, and it's a little trail that I take my dogs down. So it's nice, I'm still obviously, eventually I want to have a house one day. Like I'm still hungry for more, but I'm content for now where I'm at, and I'm happy where I'm at.
That's great, man. I mean, having security is like, it's such a big part of the game, and you do have a very exciting fight coming up. So let's talk a little bit about that. Cage Titans 51. What's the date of that fight again?
So we don't have an official date yet. They're aiming for the end of January, beginning of February. It's going to be either the last Saturday or the first Saturday of those months.
Okay. And so I know it was breaking news recently, right? So what can you tell me about this fight coming up?
So it's the same opponent that I was supposed to fight November 6th. Unfortunately, I had to pull out because I had a bad staph infection after the last fight. But, he was cool about it. And I said, it's not like I'm just avoiding you. Like, I'll fight you in January. I got no problem. And he was cool with it and said, all right, let's do it in January. So me and Jacob Bond are going to get it down.
I'm excited. I'll be there. I mean, it's in Plymouth Memorial Hall, right? Yeah. So that's right up the road for me. So I'm excited for it. What are you looking forward to the most about getting back in there?
I'm just looking forward to putting on a similar performance to my last one. I fought a striker last time, and everybody was like, oh, Joe's either going to get knocked out or he's going to choke this guy out. Meanwhile, we were all in the back room like, okay, so how am I going to knock this guy out? Which nobody saw coming. And then after the second round, my coaches told me, you're doing everything great, just brawl a little bit less. And I probably could have taken him down and submitted him, but, I just felt like because it'd been a little over a year since I fought, I had to knock him out. Because I was doing so good striking, I had to make that statement, not only to my opponent, but to everybody that was watching, like, this is who I am now. Like, I can choke you out, I can destroy you and decision you, but I can also take your lights out.
I mean, I love the message. If you're going to be a fighter, you might as well be that kind of fighter,
Exactly. So paid by the hour.
Right, exactly. So for those that haven't seen you fight yet, how would you describe your fighting style?
It's evolving always. You could watch 3 of my fights and see 3 totally different fighters. I'll adapt to who my opponent is. And I think that's what makes it tough when you're fighting me. You don't know how I'm going to come out against you. I could come out. I have no problem wrestling the whole time. I have no problem striking the whole time. I'll do whatever I need to do to win, but I'm also always trying to finish you.
So do you think that's why you've been able to be the Cage Titans champ when you were an amateur and a professional, just because of that mindset that you have?
Yeah, 100%. I just think that, maybe not people that I even know their names of yet, but people are always trying to get better. So I can't stop trying to get better. My last fight was great. Everybody was like, it was the best you ever looked, da, da, da. But that's cool. And that was great for that night. But since the next Monday after that, when I was back in the gym, before I was out of the gym for the staph infection, we were focused on getting even better, because the next guy I fight, Jacob Bond, he's going to be my best opponent to date, the toughest. He's fought nothing but killers. He's beaten killers. He's lost to killers. So he's another guy that I don't want to decision him over 5 rounds. I want to dominate him and finish him, make a statement that not only am I beating good guys, but I'm dominating and finishing good guys.
Having someone like DC in your back pocket to kind of like pick their brain, that's certainly a tool in the toolbox. But what do you think is something that you have in your arsenal that your opponent might not have?
I think a lot of people used to not like how outspoken I was towards my opponents, and I never said anything too bad in my opinion, mostly just picking apart their technical skills. But as much as people say, some people might say I'm not humble. I'm humble enough to go, I'll sit down and go, oh, I suck at this. I need to work on it. Oh, I'm good at this. I could work on it a little less. And a lot of guys can't do that. I'll say, oh, I'm better at this than you. But when I'm back in the gym with my team and my coaches, if they don't tell me, which they will, I have no problem saying, hey, I suck at A, B, and C. We need to fix this before I get beat up.
Yeah. And I mean, come on, like you have to have a sense of confidence when the fight is right in front of you, like, and a lot of people love to hate on certain UFC fighters or fighters in general that have that swagger about them where you're like, oh, you're just so annoying. But it's that confidence that probably gets them so far. Like, would you agree with that?
100%. It's weird because a lot of people almost want you to say, like, oh, I'm not good. After you could have the greatest fight of your life against one of the best on the planet, people almost want you to say, oh, it was all right. Like, it wasn't too good. And it almost makes them feel better about themselves for not being confident. And there's different ways for you to become confident, but knocking somebody down a peg isn't the way. That's not how it's going to make you feel better. It's just going to make them feel worse.
Yeah. Well, you certainly have the fighter's mindset, which is half the battle. So you are a lightweight, correct?
Yep.
So there's a huge lightweight fight coming up in December, Oliveira versus Poirier, excuse me. So who you got for this fight, first of all?
I've got Oliveira. I think it's going to be close, but I've been rocking with Charles Oliveira for a long time. Like, since people, even, a couple of his fights, he'd get hit and he would kind of quit. And it was tough as a fan to watch. But after that Chandler fight, I think he's way past it mentally, technically, physically. I think that he's going to surprise a lot of people.
Man, I have such a hard time trying to pick one or the other because I think this is going to be like a clash of styles too, where it's like who has the better style. But I think I'm gonna go with my boy Poirier. I think he's got it. He's on the rise. So we'll see who gets it right. But when it comes to the lightweight division, and you think of yourself, in the future, who would be like your dream fight as of right now in the lightweight division?
A dream fight. If it's me now, there's plenty of guys in the lower end of the lightweight division that I think we put on a great show. But if I meet my potential that I think I do have, any of those guys in the top 5, I'd love to fight. And not because I have anything against them, but because they're so good, I just want to be able to sit down and tell myself, like, you beat that guy.
Yeah. There would definitely be something empowering to be like, yeah, I beat Poirier. All right. That'd be pretty intense.
Watching for so long, if I sat down one day and was like, yeah, I beat Dustin Poirier, like that alone is just such a feat.
Yeah. Even just being in the cage with guys like that must be an incredible experience. But when you're not in the cage, I noticed that you're big into Twitch, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your Twitch page, because your girl has no idea what Twitch is. I know it's a big thing. So let's talk about it. What is it all about?
So basically, different people do it for different reasons. Basically, it's just I stream myself playing video games with my buddies. And, some nights I play really good and people are like, wow, you're good at this game. And other nights, it's just all about watching me and my friends rage quit. We get real into it. Even though we're not the best players, we're super competitive. So I've got a couple buddies that'll flip out. Every once in a while, I'll flip out. And it's just an easier way for me, I think, as a fighter to connect with fans. There was a time where I wanted to do a podcast, and I still kind of do, but not as much. But I feel like every fighter has a podcast. They find a co-host and they sit down, and there's plenty of great ones. But I just feel like it's a lot of copy and paste, and it's just them trying to give themselves a platform. So I don't knock it. But I feel like Twitch, for me at least, it's just more my alley. I've played video games my whole life growing up, and obviously I still do. So, now I've got fight fans that come and watch me play video games. They ask me questions in the chat, and I connect with them. And then I've got a couple people that play video games that don't know anything about MMA, and they come in the chat and hit me up and ask questions. So it's like, I give myself a platform to two different types of people, and it's just easier because I'm not sitting there at a desk like trying to look cool and have a whole conversation. I just play video games and people laugh when I get mad at them.
So my fiance at one point was trying to explain it to me, and how he was saying, yeah, I think I might make a Twitch, but that means I'm going to be playing a lot more. And I was like, you're just trying to play more video games. So maybe I'll consider it. Maybe we'll see if we can make it happen. I'll let it slide. We'll see. I'll say that Joe Giannetti said it was okay. So what are you going to be up to? So you were saying late January or early January, right, for this fight?
Late January, yeah.
And has fight camp like officially started?
So not officially, I'm now that I'm back to training. My first day was the other day. I'm back to training right now. It's just about getting my strength back up, getting back in shape, and we're always focused on getting better. But right now the goal is getting into fight shape. I was training the other day with a couple of amateurs that are fighting on next Cage Titans, and I wasn't exhausted, but I was definitely more tired than I wanted to be. And so I just got to get back into that fight shape, and then we'll really start hunkering down and focusing on the game plans and stuff like that until I leave for California.
So while you're, in New England, like who are some of the killers that you've been training with to get you fight ready?
So honestly, everything out here it's not really even fight based. I do a lot of grappling while I'm out here. It's funny because people say grappling is my strong suit, and I just feel like my grappling has the most room for improvement. Between training with the guys at Real BJJ in Taunton and Middleborough and the whooping they put on me, and then my teammates out at AKA, I feel more confident in my striking and my wrestling than I do my grappling. I feel like and maybe not that those are better than my grappling, I just feel like my grappling has so much more room to improve that I'm always just trying to improve that. Even my last fight before I went to California, all I did really was grapple. I didn't wrestle much. I didn't do a lot of striking. It was just grappling day in and day out, and then strength and conditioning.
So I love asking this question to MMA fighters because obviously you have to deal with the grappling, the jiu-jitsu, the striking. If you had only one option, right, in an MMA fight, who would survive longer in an MMA fight? The jiu-jitsu guy or the striker? And they're going against each other.
I would have to say that, as much as it hurts me, I'd say the striker, because if a jiu-jitsu guy doesn't have any wrestling, it really isn't going to help. He can pull guard, but if he doesn't get the guy to fall on top of him, he's in a world of hurt, and the striker's just going to keep moving around. So I think striking beats the grappler.
Boom! That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Why does that hurt you?
Because I'm a grappler at heart, and I want to say the grappler takes him down and guillotines him, but there's plenty of grapplers that can't wrestle.
Right. Well, it sounds like you have the whole package. It sounds like there's going to be striking, grappling, all that good stuff in your next fight. So for those that are just meeting you now, or, the fans that have been riding with you, how can people get in contact with you? And what would you like to say to your fans?
Every social media platform you can think of, it's Giannetti MMA. I make it simple because my last name's already a pain. There's 2 N's and 2 T's, and you guys can just expect me to get better and better every fight. If you haven't seen my last fight, check it out. It's my best performance to date, and they're gonna keep getting better.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. I appreciate it.